Good morning and welcome to the porch. I was wondering about what I might do for a video this week, and I wanted to give you guys something that might be a little bit fun. And I was talking to a friend yesterday, and well, it was the day before actually. Anyway, he said I told him a story about an adventure I went on, and he said this to me. He said, "Why don't you tell that story on video?" And I thought, well, it might not be a bad idea. So here we are. And I want to tell you guys this story, and it's a pretty scary story in a way, and probably the scariest part of it is what happened at the very end, and it's kind of humorous as well. But if you'll stay with me all the way through the video, I'll tell you what the scariest part of this whole thing is, and I think you'll find it interesting to hear that part of it. But the story all the way through is very, very good, very exciting, or at least it was for me. So let's get started. Now, it's been some years ago. I had come down with the flu, and I'd been in the house for probably a week trying to get over that. I was pretty sick. And one Sunday, well, the Sunday that I was going kind of on the last part of that, being on with the flu, I was sitting around the house there that morning, and I thought, I can't stand this sitting in the house anymore. I got to do something. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go down into Fush Valley and just do some scouting down there and look about some hog sign. Now, I'd been wanting to hunt wild hog with a pistol for a long time. Wasn't season or any kind of season at this time. I was just going to go down and scout it out. So anyway, I got in the truck. I headed off down there. I put my old Desert Eagle 357 in a shoulder holster and put it on, and put my good jacket over the top of it, or coat. Actually, it's pretty heavy because it was cold winter time. And I headed down there, and pretty long drive down there, and got down there and got out, took off walking down through the woods there. That thing leads off into a swamp. So I got to looking around, and I found some really big hog walls down there, and a sign of some really big hogs. And I'd only walked probably 15, maybe 20 minutes out into the woods. And I thought, well, those things are down here. I'll go ahead and go back home. And then whenever comes time, I'll come down here and hunt. Well, I started out of the woods, and I walked about 15, 20 minutes, and nothing looked the same to me. I thought, this is not good. So I walked about 30 or 40 minutes, still no car, still nothing there that looked like it should be familiar. And that started worrying me a little bit. And anyway, I thought, well, somehow I've gotten lost. Now, you have to understand, I've been in the woods all of my life. I love being out in the mountains and the woods, river valleys, and different things like this. And at this time, I was in a swamp, or basically a swamp, Fush Valley. So I thought, oh, Paul, you've always had a good sense of direction, but today you're in trouble. Something's wrong. Well, what I didn't realize, the medicine I'd been taking for that flu had messed up my sense of direction. Never thought of that, never heard of it before. But anyway, I'm almost certain that's what happened to me. I didn't know where I was at. I was lost. Thought, well, you ain't got one thing you can do. You're just going to have to try to walk in a straight line, make sure you're not walking in a circle. Didn't have a compass, didn't have anything, because didn't plan on going very far out in the woods. And I didn't, but I sure got turned around. I'm headed out through there trying to walk my way out of there. I thought, well, I'll come up on a fence line or a road or highline wire or something to keep me moving straight. And guys, I tell you, I walked for hours and nothing, just deeper and deeper into that swamp. And I was seeing lots of big hog sign down there. And I knew there was alligators down there. And then, of course, there's the old infamous cottonmouth water moccasin that lives down there. And man, I've seen those things this big around, and they're not very long, usually 4 or 5 foot long at most, but they're just huge, and they're extremely deadly. Their venom is, Well, you get bit with one of those things down there in the swamp like that, you're in trouble. You're not coming out of there. So I got three things going on here. I got water moccasins to worry about, got alligators to worry about, and I got hogs to worry about. So what this really means is I'm going to have to keep my eyes peeled, because I'm lost to start with. Don't know how long it's going to take to get out of there. Don't know if I'm even going in the right direction. And here I am with the disability of not having that sense of direction that I had used for so many years. So now I'm in trouble. So again, I walked and walked and walked for hours looking for something that I could help me get my direction, and nothing but swamp everywhere I could see. Now, there wasn't lots and lots of water down there, but it was really low land, and there was pools of water down there. Well, I knew that if I didn't get out of there, it was getting very late. So I knew if I didn't get out of there pretty quick, that I only had one alternative, and that was just to climb a tree and tie myself in with my belt, and so I wouldn't fall asleep and fall out of it, and stay there overnight. And now, keep in mind, it's wintertime, and I've got a heavy coat, but now I'm going to have to sleep in a tree if I don't get out of here. Well, I thought, well, I'm going to walk till at least dark. And if I don't get out of here, I'll tie myself in the tree and spend the night down there and then try to get out the next day. So, in all the walking, I finally came up on the Fush River down there. And it's not a real big river. It's probably maybe 50, 75 yards across, brackish black water, just not good at all. But I came up on that river down there, and I looked, and on the far side of that river, I could see where they'd been sliding a boat off of that bank into the water there. Couldn't see anything there other than that, but I thought, well, if we're getting a boat down here, there's a road on the other side of this river, and I needed a road bad right then. So I thought, well, boy, do you really want to swim this river? Now, here's the thing, guys. There's two or three things I had to worry about, and they were very serious things. One of the things was that the alligator lay on the bottom of that river and come up in under you, and then you're in trouble. You got to fight with an alligator. And my thought was, this is just the way I think. I don't really know why. I thought, well, if that sucker gets me in the middle of that river, I'm going to take this old 357 Desert Eagle out, and I'm going to poke it in his belly, and I'm going to shoot that dude as many times as I can. I had to work myself up a little bit, guys, to get enough courage to cross this river. And I thought, he may get me, but they'll find both of us on the bottom of that river. And of course, that was unfruitful thinking, because they'd have never found either one of us. Somebody might have found that old gun washed up somewhere years later, but that would have probably been all that's left of either one of us. So I just try and talk myself into getting across there. Now, fellas, I've got to tell you something. When you're thinking about crossing that river and you're thinking about alligators, you understand that's a problem. And that's an eerie feeling. But it gets worse than that. So I thought, okay, that's how I'm going to handle the alligator thing. And I thought, now, they're either setting beaver traps or trout lines there in that river. That's why they're sliding that boat down there. And I didn't know which, and it could have been both. But I thought, if you get in a beaver trap, or if you're swimming across there and you get tangled up in the trout line, which is, if you get even close to one of them things, they're going to hook you with those great big giant hooks, and you ain't getting that thing out of you without a pair of cutters or something to cut the end off and pull it out. Because once those barbs get in you, and they're fishing for 30-pound catfish down there, so they're using monstrous hooks. Once those barbs get into you, you can't pull that hook back out that way. You have to cut the end of it next to that eye off and pull it out the other way. Some way you can get them out of you. So I knew that if one of those things got in me, that I'd drown right there. I could never get loose from that thing. And not only that, if you tried thrashing around, those hooks are not very far apart, and you probably have 3 or 4 of them in you before it's over with. So that's a death sentence for sure. So I thought, okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go off in there, and I'm going to dog paddle, just using little strokes. And that way, if I come up on the trout line, maybe there's a chance that before I get tangled up in it, I'll feel that thing and be able to back up and get out of there. So anyway, I'm going across there, paddling, and guys, I'm going to tell you something. Swimming that far is, takes a few minutes, but dog paddling across there, gosh, it only took probably 10 or 15 minutes, guys, but it seemed like 10 hours. I mean, I'm going across there. I want you to picture this. You're feeling like the whole time, man, there could be a big old 14, 15-foot gator come up and under me and hit me, and he's got me, or I'm going to hit that trout line or a beaver trap, and I'm stuck. So it's a pretty nerve-wracking situation. And I finally did get across that river. That old Blackwater, you couldn't see 1 inch deep in it anyway. And I get across this river and I climb up this old muddy bank. Now, keep in mind, guys, it's wintertime, it's cold, and now I've been swimming. I'd swum the river. I'm muddy, I'm cold, I've got a big old heavy jacket on, and it's wet. My clothes are all wet. So things are getting very serious along about here. So I get up there, and sure enough, there's a little road there, and I'm talking about a little road. It ain't very big, but it is a road. And my thought was, I'm looking, this road goes both directions, long ways. And I thought, do I go right or do I go left? Because if I go the wrong way, I'm just going to end up farther down in these woods, and now I'm wet. And now climbing up in trees not an option, very simply because I'd freeze before the night was over. Exposure would get me. So it's not only alligators, water moccasins, trot lines, wild hogs. Now I have the threat of exposure happening to me. So I thought, well, I'll go left. I got to go one direction, so I'm going to go left. I'm either going to be headed out toward another road, or I'm going to be headed deeper into these woods. So I walked and I walked and I walked, and after a pretty good long while walking, I started smelling something dead. And the further I walked, the worse that smell got. And I'm thinking, well, some animal has gotten killed down here or something. And so I'm going to see what that is here in a little while when I get to it, because the smell just kept getting worse as I walked. So as I walked down there, got to where it was almost to the point you couldn't even bear it. You almost wanted to vomit. And I walked up on this little cabin. Now, when you say little cabin, most people, the picture that comes in their mind is this little comfortable place that out in the woods it'd be nice to be at. This wasn't the cabin I'm talking about. I want you to repaint that picture in your mind. Think The Hills Have Eyes. Anybody ever see any of those movies? They were horrible. But this is what this cabin looked like. It just made out of all kinds of junk, and it was horrible looking. The stench was just unbearable. And the sun's starting to go down pretty good. So anyway, I'm looking at this cabin. I'm a little ways off from it at this time, and I'm thinking, should I knock on the door of that cabin and see if somebody could help me? Or is this really the kind of people I want helping me? It looked to me like that might not be a good idea. So what I did is I kind of veered off the road and I weaved through the brush and stuff and got past that cabin, because I wasn't sure who lived in that. Well, as I got up about even with it, I seen there wasn't any lights on, so I just made an assumption nobody was there. Got on past it, snuck past it, and I get on down there just a little bit further, and I see a dog pen for hunting dogs. And so what that was a hunting cabin. And I seen where they'd been feeding those hunting dogs dead chickens. So that was the smell I was smelling. So, okay, all right, we're past all this, so keep going. I keep going, still no sign of civilization nowhere, and I'd walked a pretty good while again. And I looked up in front of me, and I could see a power line crossing that road. I thought, okay, got another decision to make. Do I keep going down this road, or do I go down this power line, turn and get off the road and head through the woods again and go down the power line? That was my choices. Well, my thought process was, if this road is just going deeper into the woods, if I follow it, I'm just going to end up deeper in the woods. Now, you bear in mind, it's almost dark now. So I thought, that power line, the one thing I know for sure, at some point it's going to go to a house somewhere. It wasn't a big power line. It was just like ones you see going to houses. So I thought, I'm going to follow that power line. So anyway, I took off down that power line, and it got dark on me. And I finally walked out into this field, and I seen a pickup driving around out in that field with its headlights on. So I waved these old boys down. Of course, I'm going to assume they were probably out there spotlighting deer. I don't know. They had guns in the truck, and the cab was full. It was two guys, but between the guns and the guys, the cab was full. Anyway, long story short, shorten it up a little if I can. I get these guys waved down, and they pull up beside me, and I said, fellas, I said, I may need a little help. I said, I've gotten lost down here, and I said, I don't know where I'm at. And I said, I need some help getting out of here. And they said, well, where did you put in at? And I told them. They looked at each other. And I thought, what's going on here? They looked back at me, and they said, do you know where you're at? I said, no, sir, I'm lost. And they said, you're 25 miles from your truck. I said, I don't know, fellas. I said, I know one thing, I'm tired. I said, and I'd pay you guys if you'd haul me back to that truck. And they said, well, you can't pay us anything. We're going to haul you back to your truck, but you're a long ways from that truck. And, that's Arkansas boys. They wasn't going to take any money for bailing a guy out of a dumb situation. And I was so muddy and wet and everything, and the cab of that truck was pretty full, but they had a camper on the back of that pickup, and I crawled back there, and they took off. Now, I got to tell you something, fellas, that camper, most of the time that would have been an uncomfortable situation, but that thing was like stepping into a castle that night. It was warm and it was nice. And we drove for 30 minutes to get me back to my truck. And anyway, they got me down there, and I got in my truck. Thank those guys, of course. Got in my truck, headed home. I'm driving down the road thinking about what I'd just done. And here's this, it was scary. All this was scary. But here's the scariest part I wanted to tell you about. I'm driving home in the dark, cold, wet, hungry, and thinking about what I'd done. And I kind of smiled and chuckled a little bit. And I thought, it's the best day of my life. Now, that's pretty scary when your brain thinks that way, but I really thought that. There was something exhilarating about that. And I'm not advocating that you guys do something crazy like that. I didn't plan that. It just came out that way. But it was extremely exhilarating. And I've got to tell you this, guys. I got home, and my wife run me a tub full of hot water and cooked me up a big hot meal. And that was the end of actually a very good day. Now I'm home. I wasn't even sure I was going to live through the night, but now I'm home, and I'm in a warm place and with people I love, and it felt pretty doggone good. So anyway, that's the story, guys. Now I got, a person might say, well, Paul, would you ever do that again? Not on purpose, but I got a few more stories, and I'll tell you what, some of them are pretty interesting. That's what happens when you move all the time in life, and you like adventure, and you go to places. Now, we got an adventure coming up I'm excited about. I'm not going to tell you about it, but I'm actually going to film this thing. We're going to go down into a place to where they've had some dogman sightings, not necessarily on purpose for that reason, but that's just a place that I've been wanting to go back to. I've been down in there before, but we're going to talk about that later. I just want to kind of whet your appetite just a little bit. Guys, we here at the Porch love you. We hope this little story was entertaining. It's true, and it's not exaggerated. And we'll have some more for you as we go along. May God bless. You guys have a good day.